Hello class, welcome back. It's great to see you. This unit series is called Types of Sentences. There are 7 lessons in this unit. These 7 lessons, we will be studying the 4 types of sentences: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Before I begin the lesson on these sentence types, I want to make sure that you have opened or printed the guided notes page that goes with this lesson. This will help you follow along in the video and keep your brain active. You can find this handy document either on my live worksheet page, in a link in the description below, or if you're in my TS99 class, I attached it to an email that I sent with this week's work. If you look at your screen now, you will see what these guided note pages look like. There's a different note page for each of the 7 lessons. Make sure you look at the title at the top of each of the note pages and make sure it matches the title of the video. Let's go ahead and begin talking about the sentence type for today. So this is the second lesson in the series titled Types of Sentences. Today we will be talking about another sentence type, compound sentences. Make sure you have your guided notes for compound sentences so you can follow along. Let's go ahead and begin talking about compound sentences. But before we can talk about compound sentences, let's review what we learned in the last lesson about clauses. So remember, a clause is a group of words that contains both a subject and a predicate. There are 2 types of clauses: independent clauses, which are complete sentences, and dependent clauses, which are incomplete sentences. Another great thing to review is what we learned in the last lesson about a simple sentence. Remember, another name for a simple sentence is an independent clause. Simple sentences contain at least 1 subject and 1 predicate. An example of a simple sentence is, "All my students are great." So now that we have reviewed simple sentences, let's look at what a compound sentence is. A compound sentence joins 2 independent clauses, simple sentences together using conjunctions and or punctuation. For example, I need to go to work, but I am too sick to drive. Do you see how those 2 simple sentences are joined together with punctuation and a conjunction, making a compound sentence? Let's look at the second example. He ran out of money, so he had to stop playing poker. Again, you see how each of those sentences is really like 2 simple sentences joined together. There are 2 subjects and 2 predicates in each of that compound sentence. Let's look at the formula for a compound sentence. So here you see a formula for a compound sentence. It is an independent clause plus another independent clause, or a simple sentence plus another simple sentence. Let's look at our examples. You need this, and it will help you. compound sentence. You can use a comma, you need this, comma, and it will help you. That one has a comma and a conjunction. Let's look at the second example. You need this, semicolon, it will help you. It's still a compound sentence joined together differently. Let's look at the third example. You need this, semicolon, no doubt, comma, it will help you. That's using a conjunctive adverb. Let's go ahead and look in more detail about those three different ways to punctuate compound sentences. So here you see three ways to punctuate a compound sentence. The first way is to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Now remember, we've talked about fanboys a couple times in our other lessons on sentence errors and on parts of speech. Here you will have a review of those coordinating conjunctions. We'll spell out the word fanboys. Let's look at my example of using the comma and the coordinating conjunction. Turbo is fast, but I run like lightning. The second way to punctuate a compound sentence is to use a conjunctive adverb. Turbo is fast, semicolon, nevertheless, comma, I run like lightning. We've also talked about conjunctive adverbs in our sentence error unit and in our parts of speech. Feel free and review those conjunctive adverbs if you think you might need it. Now, the third way to punctuate a compound sentence is to use a semicolon. Turbo is fast, semicolon, I run like lightning. Now, I would write those three ways that you see on your screen in your note page. We're going to practice using those three different ways to punctuate compound sentences in a minute, and it might help to be able to see it while you're working on your practice. So in a minute, I'm going to have you try. You're going to look at a group of pictures. You're going to write 3 compound sentences for each picture. Remember, in each sentence, use a different method for joining those independent clauses. Make sure that you use proper punctuation. I'm going to give you an example of how I would do it. So here's an example. You see one picture, and I want you to write 3 sentences, and in each sentence, you're using a different punctuation rule. Let's look what I did for my picture. Sentence number 1 says, the girl sat next to the tiger and she was not scared. That was rule 1, comma, and then a conjunction. Look at sentence 2. The girl sat next to the tiger, semicolon. She was not scared. That's the second way to punctuate a compound sentence. Now let's look at example 3. The girl sat next to the tiger, semicolon, however, conjunctive adverb, comma, she was not scared. So now it's your turn. On your screen, you're going to see 4 different pictures. I want you to write 3 sentences for each picture. Remember to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction for one, use a semicolon for the second sentence, and for the third sentence, Use a conjunctive adverb, but make sure you follow the punctuation rules. Pause your video, complete this activity. When you've finished writing your sentences, turn the video back on and I'll give you an example of correct ways you can punctuate compound sentences. Go ahead and pause your video now. So class, let's see how you did. You should now see my example sentences for each of the 4 pictures. Remember, there are many ways you could have written your sentences. Mine are only examples of how to write compound sentences 3 different ways. I realize that was a lot of information in this video. Learning a new language takes time and lots of practice. It can even be more difficult when you can't be in a classroom face to face with the teacher. Although there's nothing more that I would like than to be able to be in that classroom face to face with you, there is an advantage to having these lessons in a video format. You can always pause the video, write notes and questions, and even repeat instructions that you might need to hear again. Also, don't forget that each of these videos in this series have a guided notes page for you to use. As you watch the video, fill out these guided notes. There's also many activities for you to practice what you have learned. These activities are either in your workbook on the live worksheets, or if you're not in my class, you can find links to these activities in the comments section below. So for now, this concludes today's lesson. But before you go, I'd like to ask you to do a few things. If you enjoyed this video, please show me by hitting the like button here. You can also subscribe to my channel, which will notify every time a new video gets posted. If you have friends or family or other people who you think might enjoy this video, why don't you share it with them? And of course, if you'd like to comment, I'd love to hear from you. Write a couple examples of some of the sentence types you've learned today. And lastly, please know what a blessing it is for me to share my passion with you. Thank you for allowing me to come on this journey with you to learn English. Goodbye for now. I'll see you very soon.